Hey guys, it's Stephen here back with another video. Hope you all had a wonderful today. Before we move on to the Brighton game with the preview tomorrow, I want to take one last look back at last night's game against Cardiff because there was plenty of talking points, absolutely loads. Some a bit negative, some a bit positive, all hopefully interesting. So today we're going to look at 5 things that we learned from the Cardiff game, the 2-0 victory. Don't forget as well, if you haven't already watched a match reaction video from last night's game, then maybe if you want to come back to this, go for it. If not, just watch this video anyway. It's probably going to be better than the one from last night because I was rushing, I'm not going to lie. But today, we're going to look at basically a very important game in the title race for Manchester City, which we won 2-0. I'm going to start initially with a guy who scored the first goal. Kevin De Bruyne, he is back. The king is back, the Ginger Prince. And it was shown, was he a prince or a king? You decide. Ginger Prince. Nicola reckons a Ginger Prince. She's over there just cutting some vegetables in the background. She's the best, bless her. Anyway, Kevin De Bruyne is back and he was very, very good yesterday. I was a little bit nervous beforehand, and I've said this on other videos that I wasn't sure if you're going to see the best of Kevin De Bruyne this season, given the injuries and given how much he's the kind of player that needs a run of games to get going. But last night he was absolutely fantastic. The amount of chances he created, the energy, the drive, the work rate. It was like Kevin De Bruyne of last season essentially, and he single-handedly last night tore Cardiff to pieces. He was so good. Obviously not technically single-handedly. There was 10 other players on the pitch with him. But in general, he was fantastic. He was easily the best player on the pitch last night, in my opinion, of the game anyway. I thought De Bruyne was fantastic. He was little things like his weighted pass was back. He was just creating chances from every single angle, from every side of the pitch, crossing perfectly as he always does. And that goal, now, last night I thought he actually meant it. He didn't. He said it was a fluke. But either way, it's still pure De Bruyne to fluke that kind of goal into the top corner. But it was where he was on the pitch as well, how he was bursting past people, how he was taking people on. I absolutely love that from Kevin De Bruyne. And the significance of someone like him being back to his very best at this time of the season, it's huge. It's absolutely huge because he's a game changer. He's the kind of person, even if he doesn't start and he comes on as a sub, he's the kind of person who can whip in a 50-60 yard pass onto the foot of a striker, or a perfect cross, or a rocket along range in the top corner. De Bruyne is a match winner. He's an absolutely special player. And it makes me laugh that I've seen people try and play him down just because he's had a quiet season because of injuries. People try and play down his ability. Like, they've got such short memories. That's Twitter for you. That's idiots in football these days. People forget how good a player he actually is. He's just out on his own, genuinely. And it's nice to think that we could have his influence back in the team for this huge running, this potentially historic running. Alongside him, this is the second talking point, Phil Foden, he's one of our own. And maybe he is actually ready. Now, like many other people, I've been a bit apprehensive or maybe just nervous because I want him to succeed so much. I've been nervous about Phil Foden's development. I have genuinely trusted Guardiola on this one because I think he's been keeping him around the first team, and I've always trusted Guardiola's intentions were actually true with Phil Foden. The fact that he's always been so adamant that he's not going to loan him out anywhere, the fact that he's always had him training with the first team, all this kind of stuff. I've always believed that Guardiola's telling the truth when he said Phil Foden is his first team plans. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of clamour for him to start and get his first game, and coincidentally, on the night that Callum Hudson-Odoi for Chelsea made his first Premier League start, so did Phil Foden. And it was just so nice to see. It was an unexpected surprise, but one that I think he'd slowly been starting to earn in general. Now, I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but he looks a little bit stronger around the shoulders. He looks a little bit broader. But it was not just that for me, that his physicality's improved. It was just like, he's been playing better and better around the first team. He's been basically building up to this moment with some good performances in the cup competition, scoring goals now, and not just scoring goals, scoring very good goals as well, individual efforts. And he's starting to show that he belongs at this level. And then you got to add to the fact that he played very well for England in the 21s the other night. In my opinion, he was the most accomplished player on the pitch, surrounded by the likes of James Maddison, who's played lots in the Premier League this season. He looks very ready, very senior. And essentially, Guardiola surprised us all and started him. But that's Guardiola for you. And it's a massive breakthrough moment for Manchester City. It's our first graduate in a long time, our first proper graduate in this era of Manchester City. And it's nice now that one stick that's used to beat City so often is no longer relevant. We've got basically a player here. This is not like a McTominay kind of player. This is someone who's definitely good enough to be a potential world star, a genuinely potential world-class youngster. I know I'm getting carried away there, but in general, his ability is just absolutely special. Now, this is a guy who was 18, who's never started a Premier League game before, and his spatial awareness, his confidence, the way he moves the ball, the way he keeps it simple, and also the way he can decide just to run at people and get a long range shot away or nearly score. He's got a fantastic understanding and a maturity beyond his years already. Phil Foden is here. He's arrived. I'm not going to say he's going to play loads of games this season, but he's shown that he's ready to be part of this first team squad, and that's just music to my ears. Thirdly, we've got a left back problem, sadly. It looks like Zinchenko is out for the rest of the season now. And obviously, we all know that Fabian Delph's form has been a bit iffy this season. And Mendy, where do we start on Mendy? If he's not getting injured, it looks like he's slightly annoying Pep Guardiola with his off-field decisions, unfortunately. This isn't a good situation to be in. I'm exceptionally gutted for Zinchenko because I thought he was starting to look like a very good fullback at Manchester City. He was starting to play with someone who believes he should be in that position, not someone who's playing there, trying to do a job for the team. He was starting to overlap, even in the first few minutes of the game. He was overlapping before he got subbed off. He was starting to show signs of someone who's understanding that position absolutely loads. And I'm hoping it doesn't set him back. I'm really hoping it doesn't, because he needs minutes to keep practicing it so it becomes second nature. Fingers crossed. It's not too serious. I don't think we know yet how long it's actually going to be out for, but it looks like, and it's been implied from Guardiola, that's for the rest of the season. Now, how do we solve this problem? I don't know. I think we've already seen so far that Laporte can play there. Cast your mind back to the Liverpool game when Laporte did a very good job on Salah at left back. In big games when we need a senior player there, I'm sure Laporte can do a job. It definitely hamstrings us in terms of getting forward, but he's more than capable of stepping into midfield there and playing a nice pass or two. And he's also a very good defensive, as we all know. Other than that, I'm sure we might see a bit more Delph because our hand has been forced in that issue. Hopefully Delph can get back to the form of last season, though. He does have problems with injuries at the moment. He's currently technically out. And that leaves basically Mendy. Mendy is back in training. There's obviously all that kerfuffle at the weekend about him going out the day before training. If you want my very quick take on that, because I've not mentioned it yet in the video, I have absolutely no problem with Mendy going out. Who does? No one does. But, and there's the big but, it's about context. Pep didn't look happy in that press conference. We all know that. And we all know that in general, when you're worth 50 million, you've been out for the best part of 2 seasons. You're going to attract attention if you go out and club until 4 a.m. when you've got training the next day. I know he doesn't drink allegedly, and I know people are entitled to enjoy themselves, but just a bit of context, you could easily avoid this, you know. Start going out at least maybe when you're back in the first team, and no one will say anything, but when you've not been out for a while, it just seems a bit stupid. I don't blame him for going out. He's only young, having fun. But the eyes of the world are on him at the moment. And maybe it would just be wise to have a party at his house when no one's going to notice. Just saying that. I'm not saying he has to be recluse, but come on. He was always going to cause some trouble there. Anyway, I don't think Mendy's a bad lad by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's a fantastic footballer. If there was ever a chance for him to prove how good he can be, now is it. We need you, Benjamin. We really do need you because we've got no players left. So get back on the pitch. It's a problem that is going to be very crucial to this season. We're just going to have to make do, though, because that is the way of life, unfortunately. In terms of academy prospects, I mentioned it in my left-back solution video, which I'll put a link on screen somewhere right about now. I don't think we've got anyone ready to step in yet. They're all too young, and we haven't actually got any recognised left-backs playing for the under-21s, under-23, sorry, or the EDS as we call it these days, or the under-18s anyway. And after that, I'm going to have to move on to the MTC nonsense. I didn't want to talk about this kind of stuff on a football video because I think it's stupid, but it's been absolutely surrounded. It surrounded the game last night, and I'm bored of it. I'm genuinely bored of this stuff. A lot of people have asked my take on this kind of thing, and essentially, I think it boils down to a very simple situation. We just don't have a big fan base. I think there's no shame in admitting that, and the idea that somehow should be embarrassing for us as fans is absolutely nonsensical. I'm so bored of this kind of like dick measuring stuff that fans of other teams seem to want to do, like, oh, look how big we got loads of fans. But it's really, really childish, and I'm genuinely bored of it. Essentially, Manchester City, we weren't around during the 90s and 2000s. We weren't successful then. We were around there, but we weren't at the top of the game at that point, because those eras, in my opinion, were the most crucial for developing a huge fan base. You got to look at what happened during the 90s and 2000s. There was a Sky television boom, so obviously coverage of football exploded like it had never done before. And there was also the birth of the internet, and the internet absolutely changed the global exposure of football across the globe. As a result, the teams at the top then, which was Chelsea, Arsenal, United, obviously Liverpool have a huge historic fan base from the 80s because of years of success. Those clubs largely swept up due to their intense marketing drives. Fair play to them. And I don't really think, in general, that this idea that there's an infinite number of fans, glory fans, to sweep up is actually true. I really don't believe that's true at all. I think the idea that City can be successful and all of a sudden get loads of new fans in, we'll get some, definitely, is largely it's yesterday's idea, in my opinion. I think in general, most people have chosen their side. If you look in places like Africa, there's a huge Arsenal following, there's a huge Chelsea following as well. You can see why as well, given a lot of French African players at Arsenal during their successful era. Chelsea, obviously, the likes of Drogba, Esteemed, all that kind of thing. In general, those clubs swept up a lot of fans. And City, essentially, we're trying to fight for scraps now because we're probably like 10 years too late to this. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. It genuinely doesn't bother me. It's just what it is. City fans in general, we're a smaller bunch. We're a tight-knit bunch. We've got a lot of local Man fans. And I think there's plenty of issues here why City don't sell out the ground at all times. I think mainly one is the amount of games. The amount of games at the moment is absolutely crazy. Because we're in all the competitions, games come very thick and fast. I'm not used to this. I'm a City fan who's 33 years old, and I grew up watching City play considerably less games than this because we didn't get through to cup competitions and latter stages. We didn't do that. So now the amount of games we're playing is just much, much higher. And as a result of the amount of games we're playing, games are rearranged a lot. They're rearranged a lot, so basically fans get short notice. And as a result of games being rearranged a lot, and because we're in more cup competitions, the games are more important usually, so they're more expensive, so there's more travelling. I'm not saying these are excuses, they're just literally a fact of life. As a result of that now, I think we've got basically a bunch of fans who are adapting to life as a top club in the modern era, and the modern era is so different to what it was a while back. And I think as a result of that, people are starting to feel the strain financially, or maybe just a little bit of kind of like overall game fatigue. This is my opinion. I'm not saying I'm correct in this, but I think in general, people are now thinking, right, this has been a re-raise. I had that on. The kids are going to bed. I could not be arse dragging the kids out in the cold and getting them back at 12 o'clock because I don't know if you've been to Manchester City Stadium. The transport's bloody awful. It really is terrible around the ground. And we've got a big game at the weekend, so it's Cardiff, it's cold, I'm skinned, and I think people are basically just choosing games now. Whether that's fair or not, I don't know, but I am not in a position to tell them what to do, and I never will confess to do that, because it's none of my business, to be honest. It's none of my business how many games will people want to go to. I think people forget that people are human. I don't think there's any simple one factor behind it. I think the crux of it in general is that we have a smaller fan base, but I think in general, it's social, economical factors. I think there's geographical factors. I think there's loads of things in play here, and I think people need to stop looking at these things and being so childish about it. And maybe if football was cheaper, and maybe if authorities actually gave a shit about fans when they rearranged these games, and maybe if transport was better, maybe if all those kind of things happened, then maybe there'd be less empty seats at football. But that, it's never going to happen, let's be honest, because most clubs and all that kind of stuff don't give a shit about the fans by and large. In general, I'm sure at one point in the future, City will have more fans. You look at Barcelona, the new camp. Their lowest attendance this season was like 40,000 against Levante. They have a capacity of 99,000, 100k. The average about 70,000. I'm sure if you ask loads of Barcelona fans why they don't fill the ground all the time, they'd probably give lots of reasons very similar, but with a Spanish, tinge to it essentially. And no one cares because they're Barcelona. City essentially they can't beat us on the pitch. And all that kind of stuff. We've got better players, we've got good players, we've got good people players, we've got the best manager in the world. So essentially, fans like to mock us for that. Apparently, having low fans makes us embarrassing. It doesn't. That's the argument of a child. It means we've got a small local fan base. Anyway, I could rant about that all day, but I thought I'd offer some opinion. Final point. It's 6 games left of the Premier League. Only 6 left to beat the Scousers to the title. How nice would that be? It's Palace away, Spurs at home, United away, Burnley away, Leicester at home, and Brighton away. Only the next 3 games scare me. Palace away, always a bogey team for us. Spurs at home, I think we should beat them, but obviously they're technically a good team, so we've got to worry about them. Then United away. Though you could say the wheels are coming off at the moment for Ollie. Burnley away, Leicester home, Brighton away. I feel like those 3 games, we should be able to win those. It shouldn't be a problem. Then look at Liverpool's fixtures. They've got Southampton away tomorrow. They've got Chelsea at home, which is a difficult game. Cardiff away, which I expect they'll win. Huddersfield at home, Newcastle away, and Wolves at home on the last day of the season. Essentially, get through these next 3 games, and it should be all right. Either way, we are very much at the business end of the season now, and it's getting very, very, very close, and I'm very, very nervous. I think we should be okay. I think we should do it. Fingers crossed we should do it. 1 point ahead of them. We just got to do what we did last night 6 more times, and then we win the league. It's so nerve-wracking, isn't it? I do think Liverpool will drop a point somewhere, though. 2 points. I think they'll draw a game. Who knows? Fingers crossed it's tomorrow night against Southampton or Chelsea after that. Anyway, guys, that's just my 5 things I want to talk about from the game. I could talk all day about the empty seat stuff. I think in general it's childish. I think football fans should get behind each other and support this, because there's no shame in being like having a smaller fan base. Yes, it means essentially we're growing as a club. What is wrong with that? I don't understand why that's embarrassing. People have lives, they have priorities. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, football, as good as it is, there's more things important than football. And the day people lose track of that, then what's the point? Generally, what is the point? That's just my take anyway as a Manchester City fan. I may be wrong about some of the reasons, but I'm just trying to approach it rationally. Anyway, guys, as ever, I want to say thank you to all these people scrolling down the side of me. These are my patrons to help keep this channel going. You're all absolute heroes. If you want to get involved, patreon.com/Esteemed Company. If not, just keep watching these videos and supporting the channel. It means absolutely loads to me. Don't forget, as ever, I read all your comments, so get in the comments below, give this video a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll be back tomorrow for a preview of the FA Cup semi-final against Bruyne. The games just don't stop, do they? Can you see why people can't make all the games? Anyway, in a bit.